Hi, it's Monday, April 15th. I think it's about 5, maybe a little bit later in the afternoon. I've been working, trying to build this toolbox kit for several hours. So I played around with a pneumatic squeezer here for the first time, both for dimpling and for doing rivets. And first thing I learned was to adjust this black thing with a hex key and slide it up so that it wouldn't have this safety trigger on. Basically on this thing here, I would have to pull this up to the left and then depress the trigger to get it to work. And you have to adjust that little bit there so it's not working as a safety anymore. This unit's a bit heavy. It was kind of nice to just sit here on my belly and do some things. That was interesting. Have to be a little bit careful. That might be a bit of a lazy way of doing things and might have things be, off center. So I used that. I did break out larger size Clecos, and there's probably a fancy name for these, but I played with those in the sheet metal class, but got to play around with those some. I did notice, as far as there are some larger rivets, and I did not have dies to allow me to adequately cup, and so I had to use the pneumatic driver for those. And I'm building this without plans. I'd had the plans. I purchased this maybe even back in 2019, and so I didn't have plans. I did get the blue off quite easily, and I don't know if you can see, like right here, there does seem to be a little bit of residue. And so my guess is cleaning this before painting would be important, and maybe getting the blue protectant off early would help. All right, let's take a look around at what I've done here. I noticed that if I cover my pneumatic mushroom set with blue tape, it leaves some markings on. So I'm not sure I'm gonna cover that with blue tape anymore. Certainly not leave it on for a bunch of rivets. And I did notice that I had screwed up a couple of them, and these are, if you notice, they're just a little bit larger, so they were unappealing in how they looked, and I just drove them a little bit more and it flattened them right out. Inside, I think it was that corner from driving them more, is this corner got misshapen, and it might have impacted the overall structure. Also, in seeing how this box closes, I'm thinking I probably should have put these end pieces on the inside, that when I close, it doesn't easily want to go over both sides. You see this here. So, a mistake in that regard. I played around with, in the sheet metal class, with this style of, I think, piano hinge, and I just had to oil that up, and I had to put this on the grinding wheel to kind of smooth that surface out. And then I used some 3-in-1 oil to help get that through. If I were painting, I would probably be real cautious with anything that I would put in there. I know that those oils tend to ruin paint jobs. The box, or the hinge, did misshape a little bit, and so needed some persuading to get that through. I did not cut these off yet. I might use this, I might quit on this at this point. Just getting a little bit frustrated with things. And I might use this as just some practice for painting. And I do think that it requires a little bit more work, and that this latch is supposed to probably get measured for a proper place. And then there's some type of a lid carrying mechanism up here that they sent along some a measure of wire, and then this right here. I'd imagine I could probably just drill out stuff and get it going, and I'll wait on that. Next up is the training project for control surface, I think, or a wing section. So I'll open this up and I'll carry the directions in tonight. I did get an email from Vans saying that my first kit is scheduled to be crated in a few more days on the 20th. So at some point I'll probably keep track of timing of their accuracy. Everything's taking longer from everybody. So it's just frustrating for a business to give an estimate and have it take longer. So that's what I've got going on in the shop here. I did notice a little bit, I jacked up a thumb, holding a buck and bar and rattling things around. And so I need to be cautious with that. I am getting in the habit of disconnecting my air hoses before making any adjustments. And you see here how I've got this blue tape all kind of mashed up, and I need to get that off. And I think that they make a protector that goes around the edge. I need to look into that. Got a nice setup here for listening to headphones. I might look for, over the course of a build, is maybe getting into some books on tape and seeing things there. I put on this real nice tabletop and I'm making my sample pieces. I went ahead and put in my first screw ups in the table. So tomorrow, I need to get flying. It's been a while. We've had some winds, and my voice is a little husky right now. But I'm going to look to doing some extended flying and work on this other kit. That's all.